We are joined by Ashley Bendiksen. She is everywhere, it seems. Nice to have you with us here on Paul Santos Live.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here.
Well, before we get into all the different stuff that you're doing, I know you were from the greater New Bedford area. Tell me about, where you're from and a little bit about your background.
I grew up in Fairhaven, moved to New Bedford when I was an adult, and really just established myself in the community, grew myself professionally and personally, and I absolutely love the greater New Bedford area.
And then some college.
Yep, I went away to UMass Lowell for 2 years. I thought I wanted to be a nurse back then, so I studied nursing. A really bad relationship took me away from UMass Lowell, and I ended up going back to college many years later. I went to Salve Regina University in Newport, proudly graduated valedictorian of my class with a degree in criminal justice.
Well, looking at your background, obviously you had a downside there. You went through a really tough stretch in the abusive relationship. And I know for a period of time, and this happens a lot with people who are in this situation, not feeling so good about yourself. And now you've done this 180 where you're out there, you're motivational, you're speaking, you're positive. How did you make such a big 180 like that? It's amazing.
You know, I wish I had a more definitive answer as to where the spark came from and the aha moment, but I really was at rock bottom, and today I will always say that I think disadvantage can be your greatest advantage. I think hitting rock bottom gives you an opportunity to build up, and I really had nothing going for me at that point in my life. I had dropped out of college. I had very little support from my family and my friends. I had very little money in the bank. I had nowhere to live, so it gave me the chance to have a clean slate, and something within me one day just inspired me to want to turn my life around.
So then you're in the DA's office, right? And things are going along pretty well. And then you decided, you know what? I'm just going to jump ship and do my own thing. That's not an easy thing to do because you get the salary coming in and everything's kind of going well. And to be an entrepreneur, the bills got to get paid. So why did you make that leap and how hard was it to make that leap?
It was a scary thing, but it's definitely, as they say, a leap of faith. And, fortunately, I was of the conviction that I would be able to figure it out. I had been doing a lot of side hobbies and, small part-time income from writing resumes to motivational speaking when I could. So I knew that if I just got rid of the 40 hours that I was putting into an office job, that if I dedicated those 40 hours to getting more speaking engagements or writing more resumes and just marketing that I could easily start bringing in enough to at least pay my bills and then start to scale. My mom passed away in 2014 and she was only 56 years old, and it really hammered home to me, that life is so short and, the opportunity to fulfill your dreams can be cut short. So I couldn't wait any longer, and I just decided that I wanted to start spending more of my time working on what I loved, seeing the world, and having the mobility and flexibility that I wanted.
You talk about motivational speaking. You seem like such an upbeat person, really great personality. You get up there, you speak. I mean, how do you go from where you were before to be able to stand up in front of an audience and deliver a motivational speech like that? Because it seems to me that that's not that easy.
No, it's not, and it comes with practice, and I've been practicing my public speaking for 10 years. As much as I talk about some difficult issues, my life struggles, I talk about domestic violence and assault, I put a really positive spin on it that anybody, no matter what their lot is in life, can turn their life around.
There are a lot of people out there that are sitting and listening, I'm sure, in the audience, and they're, maybe they don't have the extroverted personality and stuff like that, and maybe they do inside, but it doesn't come out because it's been smothered for so long. How do you pull that out of people?
Well, fun fact, most public speakers are introverts.
Yeah, right.
We're great on stage, but in a small room. To speak publicly, it takes a lot of courage. And the same goes for walking into a room and shaking someone's hand. And it's about forcing yourself to do things that you don't think you can do. So, 10 years ago, when I was the shyest girl in the world, I'd force myself to go to a networking event and shake hands with people. And that then just grows and grows. And then eventually you can talk in front of 100 people or 1,000 people. So it's just building up that courage.
Hey, this is what it is. It's such a short life. You're going to talk to people. You're going to interact with people. And there really isn't a heck of a lot to be nervous about. Not really.
Yeah, and the trick is just being yourself.
Right.
I think we psych ourselves out. Like, I just go on a stage and I speak and I am me. You practice, polishing your communication skills and stuff like that. But when you just get comfortable with who you are as a person, the extroverted, that nature comes out of you more naturally.
Well, I know you are a former Miss New Bedford. In fact, I interviewed you before. You were Miss New Bedford, and I've talked to a lot of the Miss New Bedfords over the years. And you talk about building confidence, obviously engaging in the pageant, going through all of the preparation, having to go up on stage and perform. That sounds like a pretty good confidence builder right there. How was that experience for you?
It might sound crazy, but I think I've developed the majority of my skills from becoming Miss New Bedford. So I was 21 years old when I won the title, and by virtue of my title, I had to go into the community, shake hands, attend community events, get involved in organizations, have a platform, have passions, and speak publicly. And those skills transferred into my career, into my work ethic as a student later, acing job interviews, and now speaking and being a leader in the community.
Well, I always see these, clips and things on social media where all these ex-Miss New Bedfords always get together and they're always doing things. So it does feel like once Miss New Bedford, you're kind of in this club, right?
Yeah, we are a true sisterhood. We just celebrated 65 years. I'm now the chairperson of the program, which is really exciting. So there's 65 of us. I mean, the first Miss New Bedford is still alive and kicking.
So I know, Ashley, you have a number of different talents. One of them is singing. Another one is dancing. So that's pretty good, huh? I mean, do you still do that? Do you enjoy that nowadays?
I do enjoy it. When no one's around, I'm always singing. But I danced for 16 years at the Cheryl McCormick Academy of Dance here in New Bedford. She's an amazing teacher, and I loved dancing growing up. And then actually when I was competing in the pageants, I always thought, how cool would it be to stand on a stage and have that moment where you're singing and the spotlight's on you? And I had never done anything like that before, but I thought, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone and I'm going to try to sing. I sang on stage and I ended up winning with singing as my talent. Nothing against my dance teacher or what she taught me, but I ended up singing throughout the whole pageant. And of course, I karaoke as well.
Oh, is that right? Oh, so,
yeah.
So if we're out karaoke and, someone needs to go up there, that's you,
exactly.
Right?
I start singing Broadway. Ridiculous songs, but it works. People love it.
Well, I'm going to be doing another interview show, so maybe I can talk you into singing a song the next time you come on. How about that, huh?
I'll sing the anthem. We'll start it out, right?
Tell me about the motivational speaking that you do. When you say motivational speaking, you really want to get the audience and get them and get their attention and get them pumped up about whatever is a passion in their life. How do you do it?
Yeah, so motivational speaking is the easy way to explain what I do. But, as a public speaker, primarily I speak to students. I love going into high schools and colleges, but I also speak at a lot of conferences. And, the point is to change how people listening to me either act or think or live their lives. And one of the things that I've dedicated myself to is abuse prevention. And so, especially among students, I go into schools. I am the girl that gives the assembly, and I talk about unhealthy dating relationships, warning signs of abuse, how to help a friend. So I speak on a lot of different topics. I share my own personal stories from being a victim as early as my first relationship in high school all the way up to that bad relationship in college that forced me to drop out of school and tore my life up. So powerful personal stories that kids can relate to, that adults can relate to, and then also stories from my work in the field. I try to bring powerful stories, but also just education so that people can leave and be glad that they heard my presentation and just change how they think and how they live.
I understand that you're writing a book. Is that right? I mean, that's not an easy thing to do.
I am. So I've been writing this book for years, essentially. So my mother, bizarrely, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 48 years old. So I was only about 21 at the time, and I essentially became her caregiver overnight. And it was an 8-year battle with Alzheimer's. And during that whole time, I was journaling and writing just about my experience, about the experience on our family. And so I've turned this journaling essentially into a book that I hopefully will be finishing by the end of this month. And I am so thrilled to get it out into the world. At the same time, it's kind of like my mother's immortality. If I can write this book, I can keep her name and her spirit alive in, even bigger ways. So
my mother had Alzheimer's too before she passed away about a year ago. So it's a really difficult disease. It's really, really tough to see the forgetfulness, especially when someone was so sharp and could do everything so easily before. Very, very tough disease.
It is heartbreaking. It's probably the worst disease anyone could get.
All right, plans for the future now. You have a lot on the table. You have a lot going on. You have a lot that you already have accomplished. Anything in particular on the horizon that you'd like to mention before we go?
I'm looking to just get into more and more schools. I'm not bound to any region or location, so I'm willing to book nationally and really travel and get this message out there. And I think that's kind of about it. Yeah.
So much for being shy, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Being shy, it's an internal thing. It's in your head,
Yeah.
and we talk ourselves out of doing things, out of speaking up. And once you flip that switch and you just say, like, forget it, what am I afraid of? You lose all that, and the confidence just starts pouring out.
So you've been talking ever since.
I have. I know. People can't shut me up.
That's right, exactly. But that's good because the message is good, and you're a real joy to talk to. I wish you all the best. Keep up the good work, and thanks for joining us on Paul Santos Live.
Oh, thank you so much, Paul.
All right, Ashley Bendiksen with us here, former Miss New Bedford and motivational speaker, talking about some very, very important issues. We'll talk to you again soon.